proponent of guess and check, because decomp takes way too long. The only reason why you'd ever use decomp is if you get stuck. But honestly, the factors aren't that hard, so all you have to do is play around a few times. So if we start at A here, you can see that the only factors of 2 are 1 and 2. So you know that the first one has to be an x and a 2x. Does everybody agree? Okay, so now factors of 3, there's only 2 factors of 3. So that means you're either going to put a 1 in the first bracket and a 3, or switch them around. So that's what guess and check does. You just keep on switching them around until it works. Now the problem is you need to have the signs to work as well. So, for instance, if I put a 3 here and a 1 here, even if does everybody see, in order to get a product of -3, one of these has to be a negative? So if I put a negative here, I will get -3x, and a positive 2x will not give me 5x, so it doesn't work. So then I go, oh, I'll start again, and I'll try, and I'll go, well, let's put a 3 here and a 1 there. Let's see if that works. Look at that. Oh, in order to have a minus product, I have to have this, one of them negative, right? So I have a positive 6x and a -1. Guess what? That worked. So it takes a couple seconds, but it's fast, right? So again, I strongly recommend doing guess and check. You won't finish your test if you're not going to do that. But I'll go over decomp just to refresh your memory. So always begin factoring by checking for common factors. Even if it is by guess and check, you should be doing that step, okay? Because common factors will reduce your expression and make it much a simpler question. From the remaining trinomial, calculate the product of the first and the last coefficients. So you take the 2 and multiply it by the -3, and you get -6. So now you're going to list all the factors of this product. And I highly suggest listing them in pairs starting with 1. So 1 and 6, 2 and 3. From these pairs of factors, identify which pair, when added together, result in the middle term. Well, depending on if it's a minus and a plus, which one? I'm sorry? 2, 3 of it's plus. However, it's a minus, so one of these has to be a minus. So it would have to be positive 6 and -1. That's the only way you'll get that. So then that doesn't mean that's our factors. That's what happened yesterday when it had no, or had an A as 1. So you could just put those factors directly in. You can't do that when it doesn't have, when you have an A being a number there. So what happens is you split up this middle term with the factors you just figured out. So you rewrite it as, instead of 2x squared plus 5x minus 3, you split up this middle term with the factors you just found. So it's 2x squared minus x plus 6x minus 3. Does everybody see what I did there? I split up this middle term. Yes? If I were to add these together, would I get back 5x? Yes. So now what we do is we factor the first 2 and the last 2 terms. So do you see a common factor that emerges? What's the common factor that emerges from the first 2? An x. And what are we left with when we factor out an x? No. X times what gives me 2x squared? 2x. X times what gives me x? Minus 1. And then we have a plus there. What's the common factor that's to both? A 3. And then if I factor that out, 2x minus 3. So this is the common factor that you see 2x minus 1. Here's the common factor that you see emerges, right? That. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to factor again. So I'm going to factor out this common element. I'm going to factor it out. So I get 2x minus 1. I'm factoring out, and what am I left with? X plus 3. Do you see if I take 2x plus 1 out, I'm left with the x plus 3. So that's exactly the same answer that I got over here, but it took multiple steps. Like I said, this should be your last resort. Guessing and checking is way faster. Okay, so let's do a couple of guessing and checking here. This one might take a little bit to guess and check, but sometimes you can guess pretty fast. So, factors of 6. So the first factor is 2 and 3 and 1 and 6, and same with here, 2 and 3 and 1 and 6. So you just keep on playing around until it works. So do you want to try? 3 times 3 is not 6. It's 2 times 3 is 6, right? So you got to watch. Try guessing it. The thing is, if you take 1 and 6, which is fine, then if you do 6 here and 1, you'll get a 6 and a 6, which will never, even if you have a minus somewhere in there, you'll never get anything close to a 5. So you don't have to play around with the minuses there. So then I would go, okay, well, let's try the 6 over here and the 1 over here. Again, you get 12, 1. Even if you're subtracting, you'd get 11 or 13. So that doesn't work. So then I would start going with the 2's and the 3's. So 2 and 3. So that is a 3x and a 12x. So a 3x and a 12x, if you add it, it would be 15. If you subtract it, it would be 9. So that doesn't work. So try this way. 3 and 2. So that's 18x and 2x. That's 20x or 16x. So that doesn't work. So that means my x and my 6x probably was not the right choice. So now I'm going to go 2x and 3x. And I'll go through the choices again. 1 and 6. So I get, for the middle term, I get 3x. For the outer term, I get 12x. So that's either 15x or, what did I say? 9x, right? So that doesn't work. I'll switch them around. 6 and 1. So here I get 18. So that's not going to work. That's too high, right? So now I'm going to go, it's too much. So I'm going to go 2 and 3. So I get 6x and 6x. So I either get 12x or I get 0x. Right? Doesn't work. So then last, my only other option is this. Okay, so here I get 9x and 4x. So I either get 13x or I get 5x. Hey, that's what I want, is 5x. So now, how do I get the 5x? Well, I have to have the 9x being a plus and that being a subtract. Do you see how I'm doing it so fast? Okay, so you don't understand the middle things of what I'm doing? So now I'm going to do decomp for all you decompers. I don't know if it's worth showing decomp. I'm going to show it twice, and then after that, it's like it's done. I don't even want to do this. Okay, so if the product is minus 36, how did I get minus 36? It's the first times the last. Factors of minus 36 that add up to 5. So it'd be 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9. There you go. Bingo, bango. So this has to be a minus for it to work. So then I split this term, so I get 6x squared minus 4x plus 9x minus 6. I factor out the common factor between the first two, which would be a 2x, and I'm left with 3x minus 2. I factor out a common factor between these two, a plus 3, and I'm left with 3x minus 2. This should work. They should match because the next step is factoring that out. So then I get 3x minus 2 factored out, and what am I left with? 2x plus 3. Exactly what I got over there. Okay, this one's a little easier because there's only 2 factors of 5, right? Does everybody see the logic here for guess and check? There's only 2 factors of 5. I would put those down, and those ones I'm not going to move. And then the 6 is 1 and 6 are 2 and 3. So play around with that until you get it to work. So let's do 2x and 3x. Well, that is 10x and 3. Oh, that might work. I did it on the first try. Look at that. Do you know what? Do you know why I honestly, I just kind of randomly did it. But do you see why it might work? 10 and 3. You either add it or subtract it. So that would be a 13 or a 7. I need a 7. Can I make it work? I need a minus 7, so this would have to be minus and this would have to be plus. Done. I'll show my decomp just for all those believers out there. Okay, so that would be minus 30, so 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, so 3 and minus 10. 6x squared minus 3x, sorry, plus 3x minus 10x. Minus 5, 3x you take out, you're left with 2x plus 1. Take out a minus 5, and you're left with 2x plus 1. This should match, factor it out. 2x plus 1, 3x minus 5. No, but Anthony, so on the following examples, make sure you check to see if there's a common factor that you could take out first, because there will be ones you have to take out a common factor first. Then do the factoring. Go. Okay, did everybody get this for this? Yeah? Okay, I think people are going to get this one wrong here in a second.
I did.
So 3y and y, right? That's correct. There's no other spot it could be. So now 8 can be 1 and 8 or 2 and 4. So most people are saying it's 2 and 4, and it has to be both minus. Now, did you actually check your middle term? It doesn't work. Okay, so then if you make this a plus 2, do you get minus 8? You're supposed to have plus 8. Anybody else have a good answer? So it's 3y minus 4, y minus 2. Let's check that. Plus 8 minus 6y minus 4y. I saw a lot of errors there. Just because it's similar doesn't mean it's exactly right. So I saw a lot of y minus 4s. It's not correct. You have to have a y minus 2. This is the correct answer. Okay, just for you, I'll write it like this. Y minus 2 times 3y minus 4. I shouldn't have to write both forms. Multiplication works either way. It's just the inside that has to make sure they're right. Okay, next up, number 3. Let's see how we did. So 5 is a prime number, so we know it has to be x and 5x. So in order to do 20, 20 is a... in order to get 20 as a middle term, that means you probably have to have pretty big factors. So I'm thinking it's got to be 5. Because I don't know. I broke my number 1 rule. I didn't factor out a GCF. Let's try this again. So x squared minus 4xy plus 4y squared. Oh, this is easy now. Did anybody recognize this is a you recognize what this was?
Yeah.
That this was a perfect square? Did you really? Did you? If you get quick at recognizing things like that, then it even goes faster, right? This one might be a little. I saw a lot of people give up on this one for some reason. It's because there's multiple factors of 6 and multiple factors of 10. But I know it's not going to be 1 in. I highly doubt it's going to be 1 in 10 because in order to get 7, I'm thinking it has to be 2 and 5. So I'm going to go out on a limb. Do you see my logic there? In order to get 7, I think getting using 1 in 10 won't work because the 1 in the 10 getting factors of 6 will get way too big. So that's why I'm going with 5 and 2. I don't even know what the answer is. I'm just saying that's my logic. That's how I'm starting. So then I'm just going to go with 3. And by the way, if you put a 2 in here, you know that you should have taken a GCF if you have 2 2s in the same factor. So it'll never be a 2 here and a 3 here. The only logical spot would be like this. You know what I'm saying? I'll repeat. There's no point putting a 2 here because that means you should have taken a GCF somewhere out of there. So there's, yeah? Okay, so let's see if this works here. So I get 15 and 4. That's not going to work too good, is it? So let's do, and there's no point putting a 6b here because a 6 and a 2 would have a common factor. So I'm going to put the 6b here and the b squared here. So then I get 12 and 5. Ooh, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. So I need a plus 12 and a minus there. Does everybody see my logic of how I did that? Because it's not like you have to keep on doing all these different combinations, right? Okay. Have we had a chance to get this far? Factor out a D. Okay, so there's only so many, a lot of mistakes I saw is people forget about the common factor. It's still there. Remember, at any point you should be able to multiply this out and get the same thing. So there's only 2 factors of 2d squared, so put those in. Now start playing around with 30. 1 in 30, way too big. 2 in 15. 2, so if I put 50, that's too big. If I put 15 here and 2, no, still too big. 3 and 10. So if I put 10 there, that's 20, and 3, that still doesn't work. So then what else is left? 6 and 5. There's no point putting a 6 here. Why? There was a common factor then, so the only thing it could be is that. So does that work? 5. Oh, look at that. So you see it? It worked pretty easy there. So that's a 12, so that has to be a plus, and that has to be a minus. Bada bing, bada boom. Bingo bango, that's right. Okay. Next one, you have to have an H in there. There's no other spot for it. And 1 has to be a minus. Why does 1 have to be a minus? Because it's a negative h squared. That's the only way you'd get that. So you might as well put those signs in there if that has to be that way. Now start playing around with the 10g. Well, is it g and 10? No, 2 and 5 it looks like it's going to be. So let's see. We want a minus, so this would have to be a 5g and a 2g. Let's see. That's going to be positive 2gh and a minus 5. Done. You see how fast it goes? Bingo bango, that's right. GCF we can take out of the last one. Did you see the GCF? What GCF can I take out? Uh-oh. At 2, 3k squared plus 7km minus 6m squared. There's only so many factors of 3. So put her down. Put her down. Then play around with your factors of 6m squared. So 6m, 6 and 1, 6 and 1, that won't make 7. Then 2 and 3, 9 and 2. So this would be 9 and 2. Do you see how I'm going through my logic here? Or you? Okay, I'll do it again. I could teach you for a gazillion years and you still didn't get my logic. Okay, listen. So with 6, does everybody see my placement here? Why, it has to be that. Okay, yes? Yeah. Okay, so now factors of 6. There's only 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So I just kind of say, okay, I'm going to place 6 and 1 here. Does it work? No. 6 and 1 here. Does it work? No. So now I'm going to play 2 and 3. So I'm going to put 2 and 3 here. Oh, that's 9 and 2. That's close to getting 7. So now I'm going to actually commit and put a 9 and a 2. And now I'm going to play around with it. So, of course, this has to be an M with it. So one of them has to be a minus, and the bigger number has to be a plus. The bigger number is the 3, right? So plus, minus. So let's check. 3k squared, outer is plus 9km, inner is minus 2km, so that's the 7km, and then the minus. Done.